Welcome to another exciting episode of Backyard Oasis. You know, we really enjoy bringing you these great water features and hope you learn a little bit about construction along the way. Today's show is a prime example of how you can take the basic construction tips from a small water feature and use them to build a mega water feature. Today's show will feature not one, but two waterfalls along with a huge pond. Chuck is going to let us know how to pick some great water lilies, and Fred Spicer is going to introduce us to a fern glade. But first, let's go over to Chuck and see what he has in store for us today.
Hey, all you aquatic neophytes. Why don't you hang with us and let me show you how this seemingly huge project, I mean, two waterfalls, one big filter system, how you could do something like this. I mean, it's easy as pie. Well, maybe not that easy, but just with a few simple steps and procedures, we can show you how a project, seemingly this large and overpowering can be done by yourself. So take a look at how we get started here.
There's water in the brook running down to the stream. There's a bullfrog on the bank, baby, singing songs to me. There's fish down underneath that water, baby, saying, oh man, you'll never catch me. When water falling down from the sky up above makes everything green, makes my flowers fall in love. Saw a thorny Mr. Rosebush, baby, saddle up to Miss Foxy Glove.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Firestone Pond Guard Rubber Liners.
Water running down the mighty Mississippi. Oh, water. You know there's some down there in Mobile.
This project got started when one of the large retail developers came to us and said, hey, we want to do something totally unique in one of our shopping centers. So we came out and looked at the project and had a great location for it. Perfect place to put some nice waterfalls, give you plenty of sound, kill out the rest of the traffic noise, let people feel like they're really at home and at ease, something that they're going to want to linger, spend more money. Due to construction constraints, this project had a limited time of only 1 week for our installation from start to finish. We were provided with the pond area which had been formed using concrete blocks and poured walls. The first step was to add a few inches of sand to the pond bottom to ensure no construction debris would puncture the liner. All walkways had been poured so no equipment could be driven on site. 5 cubic yards of sand was carried in wheelbarrows and leveled over the pond bottom. We then placed the underlayment along the block walls to protect the liner. The liner was measured and cut to length. Although the pond has an irregular shape, we cut one solid piece of liner for the entire length. The 45 mil Firestone Pond Guard liner used on this project weighed about 500 pounds and took all the muscle we could muster to get it into place. You ever feel like you're wrestling an alligator? As you can see, we had plenty of overlap on the upper end, but as the pond widened, it took all the liner we could spare. That's why on any project, liner size is determined by length and width. As with all our construction project, the hosing never leaves the liner. Here we're placing it in the notch of our concrete blocks along the wall. We're going to take the underlayment and use this piece of termination bar to pin it against this concrete wall. We don't want to have any liner showing, so we'll take the liner. Stephen's going to take the hammer drill into it and use a drive pin anchor to fasten it and actually hold this liner in place. Then when we get it all in, we'll come back in and trim it off.
It's time for a water break. If you would like to use your pond or your waterfall to attract wildlife in your backyard, then make sure you have a few pockets of shallow, slow-moving water for bathing and watering. We'll be back with more Backyard Oasis.
Stephen's mixing up some mortar, and we're going to come in and lay these rocks in this edge form block. Place the moss rock on top of them. He's going to come in between the discharge hosing, which is going to come out and go into a bubble bead filter and a UV light, and then it's going to return back along the edge. And these rocks are going to be used to hide the return hosing, but same principle, we're keeping all that liner and all the hosing is going to be kept inside of the liner. So you know, that's one of the basics of doing our pond construction, is making sure we keep the hosing inside of the liner, and that's what we're doing now. What we've done is we've had to come in and pour ourselves a concrete footing under the base of where the waterfall is going to be. I was concerned because this whole area has been backfilled with basically uncompacted topsoil. So if we don't come in and take some precautionary methods, you know, like we've done here by pouring this concrete spread footing, and we started trying to build this waterfall and we get some settlement, you know, it can cause the waterfall to list to one side and create some problems with leaking, and water is going to run out, the ponds are going to run dry, and that doesn't make anybody happy. So by digging the spread footing out, it actually is going to do exactly what we discussed. It's going to make sure that we don't get any particular sediment on the base of the waterfall. Stephen begins our waterfall by forming with concrete blocks. These blocks won't be seen and will be formed with additional stacked stones, making them somewhat more palatable. All right, you can see what we've done. We've had our footings, which are under each one of the runs of the block work here, and we're building up with the block. We'll come back in and lay the liner facing it with the rock and run the hosing inside. But here again, this is primarily the fact that we couldn't get enough elevation because of all the loose dirt, the non-compaction of the soil. So we're just going to build this frame up with the concrete blocks, you know, put the liner in it, treat it just like a regular pond. Anytime you do a waterfall, making sure that liner is everywhere the water is going to be. So we'll build the form up with the block, lay the liner in, and then just start laying a rock on top of it. So we'll step over here and show you how we've already started with the other one. Stephen and the guys have come in and built the front wall up, completely hiding the liner. We'll come back in with a really nice big level lip rock that'll be placed here and an overhang 8-10 inches or so into the pond, so it'll give us a really nice sheet effect from the waterfall. As we progress up, we'll make sure that we're keeping the liner turned up, and we'll be coming in and building a rock facing, putting the rocks on the outside and then rocks on the inside, so we sandwich the liner fully in place and make sure that we keep any water from running outside the waterfall. Same thing on the top basin up here. What we've done is we've actually started by building a small pool in this upper section, and what that will allow this water to do is rise up, and then by the time it reaches the lip rock, it won't be swirling and moving. It'll be a steady, even flow as it comes off of this lip rock. So same thing, we're keeping the liner completely contained within the fall and within the liner itself, so that if we ever have any problems, the water's not going to go anywhere but right back into the liner and right back into the pond. So this thing will really come together here in the next day or so.
If you like water lilies, it's important to know some of the different types. Chuck has 3 of his favorites to share with us today.
All right, we're out here this morning to go over some simple care and maintenance of these water lilies. And what we have in this pool, I've got a tropical night bloomer, which is still open at this time. It's about 8:30 in the morning, so it's going to stay open till probably 9. Then I've got a hardy, which is a day bloomer. It's going to open, you know, about 9 to 10. And then I've got a tropical day bloomer. And I love to put a sequence of different times of day blooming and night blooming water lilies in a pond. The tropical night bloomers are going to open 8, 9 in the evening. It's going to stay open until 9 or 10 in the morning, and there again, that can be dependent upon how bright the sunlight is. What'll happen is those night bloomers are closing, your day bloomers are starting to open. So we've got the hardy lily here, and it's beginning to open. You can see how you've got some of the buds that are beginning to break apart. So we're getting some opening of those, as well as the tropical day bloomers on this end. I tell everybody, I really like, and my preference is to have a tropical night bloomer and a tropical day bloomer. Hardy lilies are nice, but you get a longer blooming period, believe it or not, out of the tropical lilies. You know, sometimes, depending upon the weather conditions and how quickly we get some winter coming in, these tropicals will bloom on through November, sometimes December.
Great info on the water lilies, Chuck. Now let's go and talk with Fred Spicer, who is in the middle of a fern glade. Fred?
Isn't this great? We have a whole garden here devoted to ferns, and it's called the Fern Glade. And it's a great example of a shady environment where you can grow lots of different ferns. And we probably have over 150 different kinds of ferns here. Now, coming down through the center of the Fern Glade, we have this wonderful stream that flows. And it's a combination of natural runoff and a recirculating pump. So we can make it flow all the time, or we can make it flow only some of the time. This is a great example of how you can use plants in a shady water garden to naturalize the edge of this very naturalistic appearing stream. Now, in the foreground, we have a very aggressive fern, and it's a native fern. It's called the southern shield fern. This is not a fern that plays nicely with its neighbors. It wants to take off, it wants to spread, and it wants to act almost as a ground cover. But the great thing about that is that it'll hold the soil in on the edge of a sloping edge of a stream like this, and it will really do a good job, and it'll do it fast. Now, down in the foreground, we have a fern that really does play well with its neighbors. And this is called Sertomium falcatum. It's the Japanese holly fern. And this is a great fern because it's evergreen. And when I say it's evergreen, it really looks great in the winter. It tends to flatten out a bit, but it still has that real good glossy leaf shine. Whereas the southern shield fern kind of lays down pretty flat. Now, we don't have a lot of options for flowers in the shade, but there is one native wildflower, and it's in the foreground right in front here, is called Lobelia cardinalis, and it's called the red lobelia or cardinal flower. And boy, is it red, and that's a red color that will attract hummingbirds from very, very far away. That is, if the hummingbirds can see the flower amongst all this shade. Now, if you grew that plant in full sun, it would be 5 feet high, and it would be really loaded with flowers, and it would seed around a bit in the garden. In the shade, it's going to be more subdued, but it'll still live. It'll still thrive. So, just a couple of great ideas for you to naturalize your shady water garden.
All right, you see what we've done. This is part of our filtration system. And basically this is what we call a gravel bog filter system. We construct a wall with these number 8 concrete blocks with the holes facing out that are functioning as the primary biological filter system. The holes being faced outward with all the gravel allows a lot of water to pass through the blocks. There's a French drain that's at the very back of this gravel bed, and the water will pass through all of this gravel and hit the French drain, and then it'll travel back via another pipe that comes in the back of the skimmer box. And on this lower part, you can see where for the hosing, for the pump that will be connected, which won't be this much. We'll trim some off, but we'll probably trim it about here and connect the pump to it, and the pump sits in the very back side. So what will happen is we'll have a skimming action, pulling a lot of surface debris, like all these leaves that are falling in the pond. When we get the pump in the back of the pit here and it's sucking water through the top, plus you're pulling a lot of water through this gravel bog. You have just billions and billions of nitrifying bacteria that'll be growing in here, taking out all the nitrogen and helping keep the water clear. So this is an extremely simple but incredibly efficient system and relatively maintenance free. So we really do like these systems. And as far as the finishing, and before we get ready to cap these with another stone, we'll come back in with a can of just cheap black spray paint. And we'll just come back in just to kill the blocks off until naturally occurring algae start covering up the stone themselves. But this kind of gives you something to help hide the outline of the block until you you get all these algae covering it up. But it just gives you a good quick fix. All right, we're going to show you how we come in and cap these blocks that are contained with our gravel bog system. And then we're going to turn around and then start the coping stones going on top of the blocks as well. So basically doing the same procedure using some regular mortar mix, just putting a good liberal application of mortar down on the blocks to get a good bond. And here again, I don't strike it, I don't smooth it. I want it, humped up and left real heavy so that when we come back in with the rocks and we go to place them in, the fact is the bottom of these rocks are irregular and they're not perfectly smooth like a concrete block or a brick. So we don't really want to do that kind of effect. And also, I'll size my rock before I put them out, and I'll pick the side of the rock that has the greatest surface area. So with this one, bouncing around, this end is going to give me the most surface area, so that's what I'm going to show. So I come in and place it. I don't necessarily just push it hard. I take it and I gently work it back just enough to work the mortar up in and around the block itself, and leave as much facing of the rock to cover up this block work as I can. So we come back in and see how much area we've got to work with and try to find the right rock to fill in that void. Let's see if this 15 years of experience will work for me here. Oh God, I'm good, let me tell you. All right, so there you go. We've got the block completely covered, hidden. We've got a few voids. What we'll do when we get ready to fill this up, we'll clean the gravel off, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead and rake us some rock between these joists, between the joints of the stones. You see how well that fills it up, so you don't see any gaps, anything within the block itself. And now we can turn our attention to laying our coping stones. I'm not going to be worried about trimming any of this liner off until I get these coping stones laid in place, because we're not sure how much is going to be left and how much overhang I'm going to have with these stones. So I'm going to go ahead and doing the same procedure. I'm going to start here. Again, be liberal with this mortar. Don't be stingy. It's not that expensive, And give me a good bed. I like to get it in here, and then same procedure, just keeping it humped up so that when we come in to lay our rock on top of it, it's going to squish it out. So I'll go over here and use my vast years of experience and choose me another rock. This one looks good. Capping the stone like so. Here again, wanting to get this top rock out as much as I can, flush, if not a slight overhang from these other stones. And just continue moving all the way down. And there again, using the same, the rock that's going to give me the most facing effect is the one that I want to choose. So you can tell by this mortar going between the joints of the two smaller rocks, you're also creating that same type of running bond effect. This one rock is going to go between two and a half pieces. So by the time we push this rock in place, and this is the only time I'll come in and strike a joint, is when I've got some mortar that's showing on the outside. So I just pull that off and I continue down the line. With a steady supply of mortar and stones readily available, you can really make some progress. Note how we're protecting the liner by placing a piece of underlayment on top while we're working. These cap rock will anchor the smaller stone and tie them into the back wall, providing further structural stability.
When we come back, we will see this project in full operation, so stay tuned.
Hey, as you can tell, we've wrapped this project up. It just came together great. We finished our work. Hey, the rest of these guys, they're still trying to get their jobs done. But got all the plant material in. The landscapers came in and did a great job of putting a lot of different varieties of plants in. They gave us some nice vertical height on these waterfalls. We've even got some night lighting in. You can see the small can lights that are going to do a nice uplighting job on these trees at night. You can see how you get some shadows cast on the walls now, even a little bit of shimmering effect that the water makes against the wall. And at night, that's even accented more with the underwater lights we put in and with the uplights on the trees. But you know, this whole project really took us, I would say, probably 80 man-hours. That's per man. We had 4 men on the job. Got all the landscaping material in, all of our aquatic scaping material in, and the project just came together beautifully. The owner's happy. You know, all the rental clients that are coming by looking at spacing are just going nuts over it. They know this is going to really bring a draw into the shopping center and make it totally unique and one of a kind. What really makes this a beautiful project is the view from the upper level. The restaurant as well as the retail shops have a truly breathtaking view.
Well, this was definitely a unique water feature. If you like what you see on our show, or if you have a question for Chuck, visit us at our website at www.backyardoasis.tv or email us at info@backyardoasis.tv. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at Backyard Oasis, where it's all about water.
Oh, cool, clear water. Water running down the mighty Mississippi. Oh, water. You know there's some down there in Mobile. Water, baby, come on, give me a sip.